Thank you, everybody. Right, welcome to today's member forum. First, some safety information. I'd like to draw your attention to the emergency evacuation procedure. Please exit the building from the nearest exit and congregate by the cathedral. Full details of questions submitted to members and written replies were published on the Council's website. Groups have submitted their questions in priority of order and are presented rotating around party groups. Each councillor has a maximum of 2 questions about one topic or 2 separate questions about 2 different topics. Councillors have a maximum of 2 supplementary questions. If a councillor asks 1 question, they have 1 supplementary. If a councillor asks 2 questions, they can ask 1 supplementary per question asked. So we'll start with green question number 1, abolition of the committee system, from Councillor Edwards to Councillor Dyer. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Tony, for your answer. This was really shocking. I think, as you highlighted, the lack of notice was really shocking, and I know that there are other councils in similar situations that are feeling the same. So my follow-up question is, have you had any further information from government ministers about the rationale for this, but also timeframes and how much money it's going to cost the council?
Thank you, Emma. There's been limited information. I've had some conversations with relevant ministers at the Local Government Association conference last week. The main rationale is nothing to do with whether they think one particular governance system or another governance system is better than the other. It's more to do with simplification of governance structures. At the moment, not counting combined authorities, in England there are about 317 different local authorities. 14 of those local authorities run committee model systems, 7 of which are Labour-led. There are another 13 local authorities that run or have directly elected mayors, 9 of them are Labour-led. The rest run either cabinet, leader and cabinet, or some alternative arrangements based on leader and cabinet. So the rationale is really about simplifying. It's about the idea that the government thinks at this point that it is easier for members of the public to understand how governance system works if everybody is running the same governance system. I don't think that I necessarily agree with that, but that's the rationale we've been given so far. In terms of time frame, we know there are some initial early changes coming through, mainly because Plymouth City Council is looking at ordering a referendum to move to a directly elected mayor. The government made it clear that they don't want that to go ahead if there's not going to be the option to move it to a directly elected mayor. So they're bringing some changes to legislation, because at the moment, if we remember from our own referendum, once it was passed that there was going to be a directly elected mayor, that then had to be implemented at the next possible election. So I think the government is going to change it so if a referendum comes out in favour of going to a directly elected mayor in Plymouth, it won't be until May 2027 that they'll be able to implement it, by which time the government expects to have the legislation in place that will not only prevent any local authority ordering a committee model, but also will prevent any local authority moving to a directly elected mayor. So the timescale for that appears to be somewhere in the region of 18 months. So that would indicate that either we'll be asked to move to a leader and cabinet model in May 2017, or at the next election, which would be May 2018.
Thank you, Councillor Dyer. Labour question number 1, Larnacross Road, from Councillor Dudd to Councillor Parsons. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you. I just have to say this is probably one of the worst answers I've ever been given since I've been on the council. It's clear from your own answer that this gate and meanwhile use site requires planning permission. It's been there for more than 28 days. It's clear that there's a meanwhile use van dweller site on the site. The explanation that it was needed to survey the site is just false, because you could access the site via the Community Link North site, the Adult Social Care Day Centre site. So you wouldn't have needed an additional route. And from your answer to Kaz later on, it's clear that this site was always planned to be a meanwhile use site.
Sorry, Councillor
So
Bird,
my question is,
please.
do you take us for mugs and the people of Southmead for mugs?
Not sure if that's a serious question, Councillor Dudd, but as the response to your question indicates, the access was created as part of our affordable housing delivery programme. We're looking to explore the site for potential future affordable housing delivery. So that's why the site was created. It's not currently a meanwhile site for vehicle dwellers, although it is at the moment occupied by an unauthorised encampment. And we're going through the legal process to get that encampment removed at the moment. But yeah, we are also interested in exploring it as a meanwhile site for vehicle dwellers while we look to bring forward the site for affordable housing in the future. And I'd really hope that both you and Councillor Self can support us in those aspirations. And I'm happy to arrange for a joint briefing for the three of us from our offices, if that would be helpful. Thank you.
Do you have another question, Councillor Dudd?
Yeah, I mean, it is clear that we need more van dweller sites around the city, but I just don't think this is the way to go about it. It's quite clear that they need planning permission. We've been misled by officers on this. And if you think it's going to be easy to get more van dwellers sites around the city without following the right process, and I think you're going to be in big trouble, because the process hasn't been followed here. And it's very hard for us now.
Sorry, Councillor Dudd, could you just answer the question, please?
So do you think this is the right approach to set up these unauthorised sites without getting planning permission first, which is the correct process?
Okay, thanks. So I think you've misunderstood what's going on here. We do have an issue with unauthorised encampments on council-owned land across the city, and this is one of them at the moment. That's separate to the fact that we're also looking to explore this site potentially for meanwhile use while we're looking to bring it forwards for housing. So, as I said, the current unauthorised encampment, we are looking to have that removed, and if we do go ahead with setting up a meanwhile site on this or any other land, it would be on consultation with local councillors, local residents, and we would be managing it ourselves with adequate security.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question number 1, chemical spraying from Councillor Varney to Councillor Fodor. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Fodor, for your responses. 2 supplementaries. The first one is on the community opt-out as it currently is. So I wrote to you, so you all know about the situation in Conway Road in my ward, Brissenden West. So we had a community event. We all met up. It was a great occasion. We did lots of weeding, and then a few weeks later, the council workers came along and sprayed anyway. So I really want to know, can you give my residents, and indeed residents across the city, an assurance that something like that won't happen again? I understand you are working on streamlining the process, but that's not until next year. So in the meantime, can you guarantee that if people go to the trouble of opting out, that opt-out will get through to the people who do the spraying? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks very much for your supplementary question. Yeah, we are trying to streamline the process. We have had to rebuild the opt-out process because it had fallen apart when I took over in the committee system. We've put together what is a simpler opt-out process than all the other authorities we checked with. We've made it as simple as possible. We do have to make sure that the street scene group receive that and that there is a majority of residents supporting it, because we can't rely on one person promising to weed an entire street. We know that hasn't worked in various places. The issues I'm trying to resolve at the moment are the delay in getting the street scene team who do the spraying to remove that street from their rounds. Some rounds were already in process because it's weather dependent how the spraying goes on, and so that could take place before the street is removed. But we're doing our utmost, and I've I'm pursuing one or two examples where there's been long delays. We're trying to remove the delays to make sure the street is removed so the next spraying will not take place, as long as it's kept weed-free, which is what the opt-out is all about.
Thank you very much for that answer. If I just move on to my second question on the target for reducing chemical spraying on our streets and our pavements. So it's really good that we're making year-on-year progress towards reducing that, and it looks likely that we're going to meet our target of 50% very soon. But some of the councils have got rid of chemical spraying altogether or have much higher targets. And I just wondered what your ambition for Bristol is. Are you happy with the 50% target, or would you like to go further?
Thanks very much. Well, I'm really glad we are making progress. We're trying to prioritise removing unnecessary spraying. I would like us not to be dependent on chemical herbicides. We've looked at a number of alternatives. They're having to be evaluated because all of them are either expensive proprietary systems or have other drawbacks, such as moving diesel water boiling generators around our streets, which causes other kinds of pollution. So we're evaluating those. That's the process that will be completed, I hope, after our committee gets a report in the coming year. So I hope we will be able to be weed-free. At the moment, without voluntary labour or other things such as community payback, it would cost a substantial amount more for manual weeding to take place across the city. And until we find an additional budget, I'm afraid we can't switch to that, much as I would love to do that as soon as possible.
Thank you. Conservative question number 1, tackling fly tipping and littering, from Councillor Galandris to Councillor Fodor. We have 2 supplementaries.
Thanks very much, Lord Mayor, and thank you very much, Martin, for the answers. I wonder if I could have a supplementary on your answer number 2, which says we've not issued any fly tipping fines in Stoke Bishop Ward for 2024, not a single one. My supplementary is this. My ward incorporates the Bristol Downs, and we've had a lot of fly tipping, a lot of fly tipping on the Downs. So do you share my surprise, if not my concern, that we've not issued a single fine?
Thank you for your supplementary. I hope the information was clear enough, but fines take place when we can find the offender. And to get the offender, we need to identify them. We need evidence. There might need to be photographic or corroborative evidence. And I'm not aware that that has been provided. That means there has been fly tipping, but it doesn't mean someone has been caught and fined for it, I'm afraid.
Thank you. My second supplementary, then following on from that, is were residents, because residents tell me that they have sent in photos of the lorries with a number plate on, but nothing seems to have happened. The response has been that it's part of the travelling community and therefore they will not pursue the matter. But presumably, if there are photos of the lorries with the number plates, regardless who's done the fly tipping, you will pursue it?
Yes, I would hope so. It would need someone to provide a witness statement, probably. It would need to identify who the owner is. This council has got a record of catching fly tippers, seizing vehicles, destroying them, prosecuting people, but only when there is adequate evidence. I'll look into this to see if there's something missing on these occasions. Thank you.
Thank you. Green question number 2, River Avon swimming, from Councillor Sloane to Councillor Fodor. You have 1 supplementary.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor, and thank you very much, Councillor Fodor, for your answer. My supplementary is really this, though, to be honest with you, Martin, is that again, what are our ambitions to make our river, the River Avon that flows through our city, clean and and for its nature recovery? Because if we don't have, as you've quite clearly stated in the answer, if we don't have designated bathing waters, then we can't get the support from the environmental environmental health bodies, so that we can't stipulate on upstreams to stop them from actually polluting our rivers. So my question is really, what are we doing to actually implement, to bring forward some designated bathing waters so we can get that support to actually stop people from polluting the rivers upstream?
Yeah. Thanks very much for that. So the specific act of designation for bathing water would be a matter for the Harbour Committee, because the River Avon up to Hanham Lock is part of the harbour estate. So I couldn't comment on what their decision would be. What we do have is a working group that was established following the motion and debate at this council about cleaning up rivers. Though every objective in that motion is being pursued by a partnership working group. The first report back from that working group is coming to the One City Environment Board this week, and they are working their way through the issues. So they are finding out what is causing poor water quality, how it can be put right, and all the partners that have to play their part. But as I say, to then act to designate a bathing water wouldn't automatically happen. If the River Avon is to become a designated bathing water, it would require the Harbour Committee to agree to that.
Thank you. Labour question number 2, Lana Cross Road from Councillor Self to Councillor Parsons. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for your response, Councillor Parsons. Apparently, the committee system allows for a more collaborative and transparent way of decision-making, and yet it seems that as a councillor, I'm the last person to know that there's an intention to turn this into a meanwhile site. Now, what confuses me is, on the one hand, back in March, you promised me you would expedite the eviction process for the unauthorised encampment. Now, in the pack, in the response today, you say there's a continuous dynamic assessment process before taking any action. It was all too easy to remove the GRT van dwellers from the Downs just last week, yet it seems much harder to do anything about Southmead. So can you reassure me that local councillors and residents will be consulted before allocating new meanwhile sites, and reassure me that the continuous dynamic assessment doesn't mean just kicking the can down the road, particularly in one of the most deprived wards in the city like Southmead?
Thank you very much, Councillor Self. I'd like to very much reassure you on both of those points. With regard to the specific site at the moment, so our housing team have instructed our legal services to take the action that we need in order to secure possession of the site, to evict the current unauthorised encampment, and that's ongoing. As I'm sure you know, legal proceedings, they can take time. But as I said to Councillor Dudd, I'm very happy to arrange a joint briefing for all 3 of us so we can go through the issues relating to that site in more detail, if that would be helpful. And then on the wider point, as we'll hear later on, we are in the process of developing a city-wide strategy for how we work with the growing vehicle-dwelling communities across Bristol. And as part of that, we are looking to provide many more pitches on meanwhile sites across the city. And we really want that to be across the whole city. We don't think it's right that vehicle dwellers should be concentrated in any one area. And it's also very important that as we go through the process of identifying those sites and bringing them forwards, that we work with local councillors, and we will be doing that with you and with members in other wards and with residents, so that we're properly consulted on all of these things.
Thank you. Now we move on to Liberal Democrat question number 2, St Anne's Infant School SEND from Councillor Clark to Councillor Townsend. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Thank you very much for the response. And thank you very much for getting a meeting organised on the 2nd of July between the school and council officers. That's most useful. Can I ask you what lessons have been learned? And I'll just put it in context for us. It feels a little bit like one part is saying that communication's been bad and the other part is saying that communication's been okay. We, as councillors, we're kind of stuck in the middle of this, but I would just be really interested to hear what lessons have been learned from this situation.
So the first question is about the initial kind of feasibility study that didn't see that there was an issue with the roof, which is the biggest reason for the delay. So when projects are looked at, it's about making sure we look everywhere that we know that might be affected by it. I agree with you. I don't think communication is good enough. I don't think it's good enough with these capital projects. I don't think it's good enough with some other capital projects, and that's being worked across different departments. the Education Capital programme has had numerous staff since I've been in this post, let alone what was going on before that. This particular project is probably 3 or 4 years down the line, and I appreciate that actually we need to get it out the door and it needs to be finished. But if we come up against, if they come up against something that has to have additional spend, then that needs to be found as well, and then with the delays with that. But I agree with you, Councillor Clark. I don't think that ward councillors are kept up to speed with with important projects that are going on in their ward, and I think that's across the place. Thanks.
Do you have another question, Councillor Clark? No problem, thank you. Conservative question number 2, implications of Labour's pension plans, from Councillor Hugger to Councillor Dyer. Councillor Hugger, you have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And thank you, Leader, for your response to my questions. I only have 1 supplementary, and that's to ask if you could share the full reply from the Avon Pension Fund with me. If so, then that would be helpful. Thank you.
Happy to do that, Councillor Hugger.
Thank you. Green question number 3, housing revenue accounts, from Councillor Townsend to Councillor Parsons. You have 2 supplementary questions.
Me again. Thank you for your answer. So I think I have 1 question really. If HRA officers don't deal with SIL projects on HRA land, I understand that park officers would do it if it's on HRA land. Who would do it if it's about waste on HRA land?
That's a very good question, Christine. It sounds like there's a specific project behind your question. So I'm going to suggest that why don't you share with me the details of the project that you're interested in, and we can get together and we can talk to our officers and we can work out a solution for the project. Does that make sense?
It does, but I would also expect there to be a team of officers that would do waste projects on HRA land. There might not be one, but if there isn't one, we need to identify one.
Yeah, I don't think there is a specific team for waste projects as such, because I think depending on the kind of project, whether it's whether it's something being built or whether it's actually the waste containers themselves, it will be different teams, and Bristol Waste would have to be involved in some of that.
Thank you. Labour question number 3, Eagle House, from Councillor Durston to Councillor Dyer. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you. Thanks for your reply, Councillor Dyer. Firstly, there are references to the Eagle House site in your reply. And as stated in our question, we have concerns that any redevelopment plans will also involve the thriving Eagle House Social Club. Can you confirm that the social club is not under threat from any of the plans for the future of this site?
Thank you, Councillor Durston. I think what we're doing is we're looking at all the options available. I think wherever possible, if there is a thriving site already in place, then we would not look to disturb that. I think one of the areas we're looking at is what might be a way, working with the community and with yourselves and as local ward councillors, is to get the best possible outcome. But that wouldn't involve us getting rid of something that was already operational and working, and that the community wanted to keep with the support of the local councillors.
Thank you. So hopefully that's a commitment I can take back to residents. Can you also clarify how Eagle House will be included as part of the Levelling Up programme, which you mentioned in your reply, since it's not actually part of the Levelling Up programme on the Philwood Broadway and it is a totally separate project?
Yes, just to be clear, I think the idea behind that is in terms of looking at aggregation of different sites so that we can maximise the funding opportunities, so that we can provide the best possible resource or provision for the Philwood area. And in some instances, it may be by combining 2 or 3 sites that we can provide a better outcome. That's just one of the options we're looking at. It may not be appropriate in this case, but that's something we will explore with yourselves and the NOA councillors and members of the community.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question number 3, Imperial Apartments, from Councillor Classic to Councillor Parsons. You have one supplementary.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your response and for the detail in it. My question was asked because of a number of quite alarming incidents that residents of Imperial Apartments shared with me. Given the, as I say, the close proximities and the importance of residents being able to access the communal facilities in Imperial Apartments, can I ask what support there is offered to residents who maybe are feeling unsafe in Imperial Apartments because of potential issues with other tenants, especially those that have been referred by Bristol City Council to their tenancies?
Thank you very much, Councillor Classic. There's a couple of routes I'd say that are open to residents who have those concerns. And the first of those is to go to Carradon, who are the owners and managers of that building. But the second of which would be to come to our offices and bring their concerns to us, and we can see what we can do to support them. There's a long history of challenges at Imperial Apartments since the council entered into a referral agreement back in 2020. But one of the things that we've committed to is to make sure that you and the other ward councillors are kept regularly updated on what's happening at Imperial Apartments, what we know. And actually, we've got our next briefing coming up on the 21st. I'm also going to be hopefully visiting Imperial Apartments in person myself sometime fairly soon, so we can understand a bit more about what's happening there right now.
Thank you. Conservative question number 3, maintaining integrity of tenancy agreements, from Councillor Weston to Councillor Parsons. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. I wish I had your confidence that the Housing Department does actually take antisocial behaviour seriously. I had one resident hit over the head with a rock and we still don't go for an eviction, so not sure on that. Can I ask then if you will, I think the first protocol for dealing with it seriously is making sure that the housing teams are adequately staffed. There was at one point in North Bristol where we should have had 8 housing officers. We had 1.5. Can you confirm to me whether all the housing teams are now adequately staffed to deal with the kind of issues we're looking at?
Thank you very much, Councillor Weston. First of all, on the issues around antisocial behaviour, I think it's really important that we make sure that our estates, that our homes are managed in a way that keeps everybody safe. That's part of the reason why we're currently reviewing our tenancy agreement. There's actually a consultation happening now, and I'd really encourage residents, especially residents in council homes, to complete that consultation. That includes some stronger protections and obligations on residents in our council homes around antisocial behaviour, harassment, a whole range of behaviours that could impact on other residents. And then on the staffing issues, I think actually when it comes to housing officers, I think we're fairly confident that we are adequately staffed. We do have challenges in a lot of areas with recruitment and retention of skilled staff, but in this area, we think actually a lot of what needs to change in our housing services has been identified by the strategic review that we had done a few months back, and that's about things like changing the way that we work, having better information about our residents, really having a much more sort of resident-focused approach, and changing the culture as well, so that it's more focused on the needs of our residents.
Okay. I fear the biggest problem that our staff have is actually they don't feel supported with problem tenants, and they're dealing with people complaining about them without anything happening. But okay, this one is, I think, for homework. If you could ask your officers to come back to me on, you've listed out the outcomes, so a certain number of civil injunctions, acceptable behaviour. What I'd like to know is, did they work? So if we had a problem tenant and we then gave them a community protection warning notice, did the behaviour improve? At which point, congratulations, it worked. Or actually did it escalate? Because from what I can see on mine, I'm sceptical as to whether these work, or it's a tick box exercise just to try and placate us. So could I ask your officers to come back and tell me if they worked?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do some work looking into that.
Yeah.
I think we could probably try and work out what some what some outcome measures might be. You know, what does good look like in this area, and then we can come back to you on that. Yeah, yeah.
That's what the outcome is.
Yeah, yeah. Let's yeah. I'll take that away, and let's get back together, and you and me can get a briefing on that. Great.
Thank you. Green question number 4, Ashley Down Road speeding from Councillor Edwards to Councillor Plowden. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for your answer, Ed, and I know this is something you know I've gone on about a lot because it is something that residents really care about. And one of the things that struck me, and I think this doesn't just apply to Ashley Down Road, I think this is probably more universal than that, is when residents are really concerned about a road where there's lots of speeding. You know, in this case, it's because it's a school route, there's lots of primary school children's around, but because an accident hasn't already happened or there's only been 2 accidents, they're told like nothing can really happen. And I know obviously we passed the Vision Zero motion a couple of years ago, which I really hope we're going to be taking forward. Are we going to be able to look, going forward, are we going to be able to look at speeding as a problem without actually waiting for accidents to happen first?
That's a good question. Yes, indeed. One of the biggest problems we have is that it's actually the intimidation means that maybe people aren't using the roads in the first place, which means that therefore there aren't so many crashes because people are too frightened to be there in the first place. And if people's feeling is that it's not safe, then that's probably true. I think the best thing we can do really is try and look at this from a citywide perspective. The Safe Systems approach to road safety is over 10 years old. And if I'm honest, I don't think the previous administration really pushed it through as much as they might have done. So we're going to review it, and we're actually preparing the paperwork for the September committee to set up a task and finish group focusing on road safety. And that will be a citywide approach with an aim to try and review and renew the 10-year-old strategy that we have.
Thank you. Labour question number 4, affordable housing delivery from Councillor Peat to Councillor Parsons. You have 1 supplementary.
Sorry, I've got my notes here. So thank you for the response I received. I appreciate how honest it was, something that's often rare in politics. For those who haven't read the public forum, my question essentially just asked, how many affordable homes have we got? So I suppose my first question is, what happened to the Green Party pledge to improve upon the 600 affordable homes a year that Labour was providing, and instead build 1,000 a year? Because it seems that instead of exceeding the 600, this administration has actually fallen behind.
Thanks for your question, Councillor Peat. So yeah, as you say, I mean, I'm glad that you've acknowledged the openness with which we're treating this information. And in fact, we're getting a full report on affordable housing delivery to the next Homes and Housing Delivery Committee, of which you remember, and we're going to be reporting on this data quarterly going forward, actually. So this committee is going to be getting really good data on new homes being built. And yes, while it's true that the figure of 535 affordable homes which was delivered in the previous financial year, some of which was under the Labour administration, some of which was under the current administration. It's probably worth saying that figure is higher than all but 1 year of the previous administration, and that, in fact, is it's the second highest level of delivery in well over a generation. So I think that's kind of testament to Bristol's commitment to affordable housing delivery. There's always going to be ups and downs, but one of the things that I thought was quite interesting is that we started reporting on starts on site last year. So that's not the number of homes that were completed, but the number of homes that were begun, and that's a good indication of delivery in future years. So from the data that we have, in the previous year there were 423 starts on site, and in the year just gone there were 555. So that's a considerable boost to our future pipeline. And forecast delivery for this year is over 700. Now there's always slippage in pipeline, so that figure is very much subject to change. But that's homes that are in active delivery right now, and if achieved, that would be by some distance that would be the highest figure achieved in over a generation. Really, this is something that I think we need to work not only as a council, but with all of our partners on. So with our registered provider partners, with Homes England, with the Combined Authority and with government to really sort of up that level of delivery. That's the way that we're going to get there. We can't do it on our own. We have to involve everybody. And I really hope that you and the Labour group and everyone across the chamber will support our aspirations there, because every one of those homes makes a huge difference to a family.
Thank you, Councillor Parsons. We move on to Liberal Democrat question number 4, access to community public health services, from Councillor Classic to Councillor Williams. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you. I've got to talk backwards now. Thank you very much for your answer. Obviously, I probably don't need to state to you that the judgment and the subsequent wait for guidance from the EHRC is causing a huge amount of stress and worry to our trans community in Bristol, and definitely further in the LGBT plus community. So can I ask that if there is a mechanism when we do have that guidance and we do understand what the implications are we able to properly communicate and with the wider LGBT plus community in Bristol and get their input on policies? And if not, can I strongly recommend that we do?
Lord Mayor, thank Sarah for her question. It's particularly timely, of course, as we've got Bristol's Pride events taking place at the moment. It's very important for those of us in the LGBT community, and she's right to say that this Supreme Court ruling, which we must respect, but nonetheless has caused huge stress and anxiety for a lot of our fellow citizens in Bristol. We're awaiting the central government guidance of what this means for us as a local authority, in particular in the discharge of our public health duties. When we've got that, and the report will go to my committee, as usual, it will be subject to inequalities impact assessment. But on this occasion, I would expect and would urge officers to go that extra mile to make sure that we're not just ticking the relevant boxes, but that we have engaged as much as we can with our own trans staff inside the council and with as many trans people as we can in the city, as well as other people who have a protected characteristic.
Thank you. Conservative question number 4, criteria for social housing brackets van dwellers, from Councillor Udin to Councillor Parsons. You have 2 supplementaries if you wish.
No supplementary.
Not a problem. Green question number 5, licensing system and usability, from Councillor McAllister to Councillor Breckles. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, Councillor, for your answer to my initial question. I've got to say I'm not quite sure I can share the characterisation of the online service as recent. I think when I was elected over 2 years ago, it was exactly the same. I haven't really seen any changes since then, unfortunately. I do appreciate the staffing constraints we're under, and it's good to have the commitment to deliver the online access by the end of the year. My supplementary question is, will that eventual online portal have similar functionality to the planning portal, including things like a site history, an interactive map to easily see applications and licenses in your area, and integration with the pinpoint system?
Well, I'd hope so, but I'll obviously need to raise that with the officers that are involved in designing that part of the website.
Thank you. Labour question number 5, affordable housing delivery, from Councillor Peat again. I have on the list to Councillor Dyer. You have 1 supplementary if you wish.
Yes. So I suppose 1 further supplementary question I would like to ask about affordable housing is that, recently a housing development was built that was greenlit in the previous administration. Now, the way that developer has been treated following a photo shoot is absolutely horrendous. They've been asked to apologise to the chair of the Housing Delivery Committee because we asked if we could go visit the site and have some photos.
Sorry, Councillor Peat, I just need a question, if I may.
How can an administration act as if it has integrity and actually want to build relationships with developers if that's how they treat them?
Unfortunately, Councillor Pete, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to email me, I'll be happy to give you a response. What I would say is that in terms of working with developers, we try to work positively with them at all times and all places. What I say in terms about the original subject of your question, which you now seem to have changed to something different, is that in terms of delivering affordable homes and whether we can improve that and deliver a lot more affordable homes, well, first of all, homes don't get delivered overnight. It takes a while for homes to be delivered. So I'd like to give credit to the Labour administration for the 535 homes that were delivered that you mentioned for 24-2025. Clearly, that was far short of the 1,000 homes per year by 2024 that has been delivered, but it was done in trying and difficult times. I think what we now have, and again, I'll give some credit to the new Labour government. I was lucky yesterday to be in a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister, and we see reinforced that the new government is absolutely committed to improving and increasing by a considerable margin the number of affordable homes, especially social homes, that are being delivered. This administration and this council are fully committed to working with the new Labour government to deliver those social and affordable homes, and I hope you're able to support that objective as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question 5, electoral services for Councillor Coombs, but I don't believe he's here, is he? Nope. So we'll move on to Conservative question number 5, road safety innovations from Councillor Eddy to Councillor Plowden. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Firstly, Mayor, I thank Councillor Plowden for his reassurances. That's very helpful. Secondly, the first and only supplementary is, does he accept the findings of a 2022 study by Queen's University and Edinburgh University, as well as various other studies, that there were no significant reductions in casualties or actually collisions as a result of 20-mile-an-hour zones?
I'm not familiar with that study. I am familiar with a study that's just been done in Wales, which shows that it's had a very significant effect. In fact, it's reduced the insurance premium for everyone by about £40 to £50 a year. I am aware of a previous study done by Atkins in around about 2019, which was underpowered. It didn't look at the results from Bristol or Edinburgh, which were 2 of the cities that pushed the boat the most, pushed the envelope for 20 miles an hour more than any others. And I'm also have noticed that just in the last month or so, the Transport for London have produced a report which shows 20 miles an hour in London has significantly, I think by up to 30%, if I remember it correctly, the amount of injuries attributed because of 20 miles an hour. So I'm not aware of that particular study. If you'd like to send it to me, I'd be more than happy to look at the method that they used. And I think we probably need to at some point, somebody's going to have to do a systematic review of all the different studies, because I'm certainly aware that one of them conducted in the past was underpowered and found that typical thing where it says there's no evidence that it's reduced it, which is not the same as there's evidence that it hasn't reduced it. It's basically saying we didn't do a proper study and we didn't find anything. There's subtly different but very important distinction.
Thank you. Did you have another question, Councillor Eddy, or just the one? Thank you. Labour question number 6, Lawrence Western local lettings policy from Councillor Blenkinsop to Parsons. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to ask for a little bit of clarity on the answer that I received, and I will try and be brief on this. But when it says housing options have provided a number of updates, I've asked how many updates there were. If I said that there are a number of councillors in this room, I don't think you'd regard that as a particularly substantial answer. Secondly, on the point of 70 have gone to residents who meet the local lettings policy criteria, I note that as part of that criteria, it does say, should an applicant not be found who matches the above criteria, the allocation property will revert back. So I'm asking just to confirm that those 70 residents were all on 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, that they that they had a connection to the area or they were living in the area. If you can give me some reassurance on that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Tom. I think I'm going to have to ask our officers to get back to you on the specific number of updates that have been provided. But yeah, I mean, really pleased to be able to report on the progress of the local lettings policy for Lawrence Weston. Just to give some context to this, so the local lettings policy allocates 50% of new build social homes to local residents. And what that means is that we can balance sort of addressing citywide housing need with enabling people to keep their local connections and really sort of support vibrant local communities. And we think it's a model that's proved really successful in Lawrence Weston, and we're looking to see where we can expand and develop similar schemes elsewhere in the city. And it's probably worth saying that that of those 70 residents housed locally under the policy, and yeah, they're all people with a genuine local connection. 34 of those were in the last year, so you know, kind of nearly half, and that's really a sort of testament, I think, to the success of the new build programme in Lawrence Weston, and also to the fact that that this policy is really working, is really delivering for local residents. So yeah, I just wanted to give to thank you for the opportunity to celebrate that, and I wanted also to give a quick shout out to the fantastic work that Ambition Lawrence Weston have been doing. That we're looking to work with them to refine and improve the Lawrence Weston local lettings policy at the moment. So you know, this is a fantastic win. Thank you.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question 6, Lawrence Weston Transit Traveller site, from Councillor Gooch, but I believe she's not here, so we'll move on. Conservative question 6, school exclusion administrative process, from Councillor Morris to Councillor Townsend. You have 2 supplementaries.
Thank you. For some reason the microphone's gone missing. Thank you for the answers. And I think the training is very valuable and is needed. I'd just like to draw your attention to the report where it says that the head teacher in question felt let down. He clearly felt very let down by the LA's failure to respond either at all or in a timely manner. And we need to be sure that we're supporting teachers and schools as well as families regarding education and SEND issues in particular. Thank you.
Okay. Labour question number 7, road resurfacing of Filton Road, from Councillor Renard to Plowden. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you. We seem to be making some progress, which my residents will be delighted about. I think the bit I was a bit concerned about was the last bit of the answer. We'll consider how to integrate the resurfacing of Dorian Road into wider annual resurfacing programme. I think what I'm looking for is a commitment, a concrete commitment, you might say, that this will be funded once the works have taken place that need to happen, and not, you know, years down the line. Thank you.
Thank you.
As I said before, it's always better not to resurface a road that you know that's going to be dug up. So yes, we definitely will be making sure it's part of the programme, but obviously we have to balance that against other priorities. So I'm hoping that it will be sooner, but I haven't got the technical information at the moment. But I would like to see that resolved and definitely resurfaced, and then a 2-year restriction placed on it to make sure no more utilities come back. I'm sorry about the delay, but we can't control the speed at which the utility company is attacking this problem.
Thank you very much. Liberal Democrat question 7, van dwellers, from Councillor Gooch, but she's not here, so we'll move on from that one. Labour question number 8, planning enforcement, from Councillor Clark to Councillor Dyer. You have 1 supplementary.
No supplementaries. I'm really grateful that officers are taking this seriously, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question 8, running track in South Bristol, from Councillor Kent to Councillor Dyer. You have 1 supplementary, Councillor Kent.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I'd like to thank the leader for your answer. As you're aware, today we have a petition from thousands of residents in South Bristol. I think that is really a sign of how people are concerned about their loss of facilities. So I do hope that we can, between us, explore an alternative for the running track, so we actually can have a facility people in South Bristol can use. Thank you.
Do you want to respond, Councillor Dyer?
Just to say I completely agree that no, we do need to find alternative provisions for our sports in South Worcester.
Thank you. Labour question number 9, healthcare infrastructure, from Councillor Blake to Councillor Dyer. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, my Lord Mayor. Thank you, Tony, for the response. Just a correction on your response to, it was me and Ellie who secured that healthcare provision in the speech, and the planning committee helpfully agreed with that change. I guess we could extend the we to all of us then. I guess the thing for me, Tony, is that I'm worried about in answer item 4, you talk about a trade-off between almost healthcare and affordable housing. And I'm sure that you don't mean it like that. I mean, this seems to me like a response from the leader of council, whereas actually what we want, I think, for the provision of healthcare provision services and GP services around the country is a response from the leader of the city. We need someone to own this and solve it. And I'm looking to you, right, to do that with the NHS. I mean, we've got no one else who can solve this issue.
Sorry, Councillor Blake, we move to the...
We've got no one else. So basically, please, can you take this up and tackle this issue with our support?
Yes, thanks, Kelvin. And you're absolutely right, it is a complex issue. There are conversations going on with the ICB and with the new Worcester Neighbour Partnership, which is now the 3rd largest NH Trust in the country. And we're having discussions with them about how we can make best use of the resources so that we can provide the services that people need in their areas, particularly when there is new development coming forward. So I'm more than happy to take that challenge.
Thank you. Liberal Democrat question 9, health service provisions in Hengrove and Whitchurch Park, from Councillor Kent Williams. You have 1 supplementary.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. To Councillor Williams, thank you for your answer. There are really grave concerns within our community and even amongst our doctors on being able to meet the health demands from the new housing that has already been delivered. And there are thousands more new houses to be delivered within our community. I am concerned that the ICB really haven't got to grips with this. Can you then work with us, and in particular looking at this issue of the use of strategic SIL, to see about delivering new primary care facilities within the Hengrove Whitchurch area? Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for your supplementary. And of course, it's similar to what Kelvin was just asking the leader. And it's something I bring up quite often myself when I see developments taking place around the city. For instance, there was a presentation recently about master planning in St Philip's Marsh, which is probably the last area of the city that we will develop in our lifetimes. And health wasn't mentioned, primary care wasn't mentioned, pharmacies weren't mentioned. We need to get these things built in right at the very start of the master planning process and the planning permission process to make sure that they are not left solely to Section 106 agreements. We need to find other sources of funding as well. Strategic SIL may be something we could look at, and it's slightly outside my remit, but I'll discuss that with the colleagues who are responsible for it. And maybe central government has a role to play here as well to funding health infrastructure. If we are going to move from acute to the community and from acute to prevention, which is what the Secretary of State wants and what we all would like to see as well, that is going to require central government putting their mouth where they putting their money, putting their money. It's just trouble when you extemporise. Putting their money where their appreciated words are. I'll stop there.
Thank you for that. Labour question 10, empty property in Hallfield, from Councillor Renard to Councillor Dyer. 1 supplementary, Councillor.
Is it to you? Is it adult social care?
It's a good question. I mean, if you ask me the question, then I can get an answer back to you if it's one I can't answer.
So it's helpful to know that we're now making some progress on a property that was declared surplus in June 2023. It's almost 2 years on from that point, and it talks about funding being sought via the Capital Investment Board to carry out the necessary adaptations. So is it going to be used by adult social care, and when will we see the property finally occupied?
I think that's a very good question. It has taken a long time, but looking at this, I think it says on here that a decision needed to be made before the 31st of March 2026. I would hope we made a decision a lot quicker than that. What I'll do, I'll chase it up for you, Tom, and come back to you.
Thank you. Labour question 11, recent arson attacks from Councillor Al Mugabi to Councillor Dyer's here? No. Okay. Labour question 12, East Bristol livable neighbourhood from Councillor Breckles to Councillor Plowden. You have 2 supplementaries.
I'll ask just the one given the time, but what I would say is that there has clearly been a knock-on effect through my ward, you know, the whole road, Church Road and all the way through. Troopers Hill Road itself has also seen a massive impact in increase in traffic, and I really do think we need to be monitoring this, because any, you know, long-term scheme has got to be able to sort of mitigate that. And sort of, you know, at the moment what we seem to be having is massive reduction in traffic on some
Councillor
roads.
Breckles, can we get to the question, please?
Yeah, well, the question is, can we, you know, can you specify what you are going to monitor? Because I think we need to be looking at the wider impact on the area.
I've got a series of maps that were sent to me in anticipation of this question. I'm more than happy to share them with you, Councillor Breckles.
Thank you. We've got time for one more question. Labour question 13, the Send spine scandal from Councillor Bales to Councillor Townsend. You have one supplementary?
Well, if I only get one supplementary, it'll be, are you just going to get on with the investigation that you promised?
So the email's gone out asking for the evidence that of any current, because that allegation was made at CYP the week before last. So that email's gone out. You've received that, Councillor Bales, from Hannah Woodhouse. That's gone out. You've been invited, work with the CEO, put the proposals together, bring the paper back in August. It has to go through the committee because it needs to be voted. It needs to come to the committee. It needs to be voted on. Work with the Chief Executive. The officers are waiting for you. Bring the proposal forward for August.
The information
Sorry, Councillor Bose, you had.
This is really important.
You had one supplementary, and we've actually run out of time now for
my
public
tweet
forum.
That came up in someone
Councillor
else's,
Bales.
Subject access request.
Councillor Bales, could you please stop talking? We've run out of time for public forum now.
This is relevant to that investigation.
Councillor Bales, please. Thank you.
It's a point of order. You may need to take it.
It is a point of order because I didn't give new information. I gave information that was already available. My tweet came up in someone else's subject access request.
Councillor Bales, I would suggest maybe taking this up with officers on this occasion, I'm afraid.
So we don't need a new investigation. We need the original one to be carried out properly.
Okay, that concludes members.
Well, is that the one that didn't get carried out under the Labour administration?
Right, we've now run out of time, so that concludes members' forum and forum questions. We did have 10 statements received, and they will be referred to the leader for consideration. And that concludes members' forum. Thank you very much.